Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 8minutemovement.com, day 32. My name is Rob Gardner with the 8-Minute Movement, and we are kicking off a brand new series to coincide with Valentine's Day, all about love. And the title of this series is called Love Loving Lovers Love Love. And there really isn't a lot to that other than the fact that I just wanted to show that I could make a sentence out of nothing but the word love. But we are going to talk about love this week, and it is a topic in a week that is so charged because you've got some people that are so excited and they're thinking about that special someone in their life and how they can impress them and wow them and show them their love. And then on the other side, you have people who are single and want to be in love, and this is a very rough time for people, and they're hurting and they're sad and they're depressed and they're lowering their worth. And so it's an extreme week because some people are so excited and some people are hurting so bad. And our goal for this week is to kind of collectively look at love in a way that can help all of you, regardless of where you're at, improve your views on love, understand God's views on love, and put yourself in a position to be stronger, wiser, smarter heading into this Valentine's Day. And to hopefully make sure that you have a great experience through the weekend, regardless of where you're at. Today's topic is going to scare some of you and be encouraging to others, and it's called It's Okay to Be Single. All right? Before I lose you, hear me out. This is only an 8-minute video, so I don't want you to panic, but hear what I have to say here, because I want to explain. I think that Paul does such a great job of talking about singleness and being married and being in relationships, and I want you to understand, like we talked about before, that marriage is a part of this free will gift that God has given us, and we do have the options to choose. But Paul makes cases for both sides, and so we're going to look in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 today at some of what Paul's telling us and kind of talk about the single versus married thing. So the first point I want to make, 1 Corinthians 7:27 says this: "Are you married? Do not seek a divorce. Are you unmarried? Do not look for a wife." Now, pretty obvious verse here, and the point I want to make about it is this: the grass is always greener. If you've never heard this saying, which I would find shocking, but I'm getting old, so maybe that's the case, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And the thought is this, that whatever we have, we want the other thing. And I have seen this so many times in my personal life, and I've seen this so many times in the lives of other people where, a single person is sitting there going, "Oh, man, I don't want to be single. I want a girlfriend. I want a boyfriend. I want someone to cuddle with. I want someone to spend time with. I want someone to hang out with on Friday and Saturday nights. I want to feel loved. I want to love." And they look at all the positives of relationships and none of the negatives, and they just think that their situation is so terrible. And then you see people in relationships that have been married for a while or have been in a long-term relationship, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm tired of being in a relationship. I want to be free. I want to be able to play video games until 3 a.m. I want to be able to do whatever I want on the weekends. I don't want to go watch this opera or ballet. I don't want to watch Grey's Anatomy. I don't want to watch," they complain about the lack of freedom they have, and they're like, "Oh, I wish I could be single." The fact is, if you're a person that someday is going to be married, there's going to be seasons of singleness and seasons of being married. And instead of constantly always looking at the other one and wishing you had it, you need to understand and appreciate the benefits of where you're at. And this verse is simply saying that, look, if you're married, be married. If you're single, be single. Don't constantly be wanting to change your status. And there's benefits to both. Again, like I talked about, being single, you have freedom of your schedule. You have freedom of how you spend your time. You're not bound to this person in a way where you have to find things that you both like to do, or even worse, do something you don't like to do because that person likes to do it. If you're married or in a relationship, then enjoy the fact that you have someone there that you can share your struggles and challenges with, and that that excitement of being loved and loving someone and going through life together. Take each season and appreciate it for what it is, because the grass is always green on the other side, and if you're always looking at what you don't have, you'll never enjoy what you have. Second point, 1 Corinthians 7 verses 32-34 say this: "I would like you to be free from concern. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs and how he can please the Lord, but a married man is concerned about the affairs of this world and how he can please his wife, and his interests are divided. An unmarried woman, a virgin, is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord in both body and spirit. But a married woman is concerned about the affairs of this world and how she can please her husband." Point number 2, relationships steal your freedom to focus. So, look, Paul is saying if it's not that you can't be married or that marriage is the most horrible thing in the world, but he is cautioning you. He's saying when you get into relationships, when you date, when you marry, your focus is going to be torn. Your concerns are going to be torn. Part of you is going to still love Jesus and want to be a Christian, but part of you is going to be distracted and devoted to trying to make this other person happy, to please them, to be there for them, to take care of them, and it causes a conflict. I'm married. I'm the kind of guy that kind of is in the camp of needing to be married. So I don't judge anybody that feels that they need to be married. But, I can tell you that there have been times where there's things that I kind of want to do for God, and I have to kind of check myself and wait and think of myself, because the risks that I want to take, the leaps of faith that I want to take, aren't leaps of faith just for me. It's leaps of faith for my family, my wife, my kids. It's a much bigger process, whereas if I was single, I would who cares? If I take this financial risk and I screw up and I have to move back in with my parents, I have to move back with my parents. When you're married with kids, the prospect of moving back in with your parents is not a good one. And that's just one example, but being in a relationship will take time away from you and the Lord. Being away from a relationship will take focus away from you and the Lord. Being in a relationship will limit your ability to do some things for the Lord. I've seen people before who were in relationships that wanted to go on a month-long missions trip and couldn't because their relationship couldn't handle it. I've seen situations where kids got in relationships and they stopped coming to church and they stopped going to youth group and they stopped going to small group and they kind of fell away because of it. There is a risk in being in relationships that steals your freedom to focus, and it also steals your freedom to really truly be devoted to God. So you got to check yourself and remember, it's okay to be single. If you get into a relationship, sure, there's some good things, but at the same time, you have to know that it is going to have an impact on how you serve God and what you do. Finally, the last part is this. Proverbs 7:36 through 38 here says, if anyone's acting improperly towards the person they're engaged to, and if she is getting along in years and he feels he ought to marry, he should do as he wants. He's not sinning. They should get married. But the man who has settled this matter in his own mind, who is under no compulsion, but has control over his own will, and who has made up his mind not to marry the virgin, this man also does the right thing, so that he who marries the virgin does right, but he who does not marry her does even better. So again, I want to stress this. The highest calling you can have is to be single, okay? If you feel that you enjoy singleness and you have the self-control to stay single without getting into trouble, and you know what I mean by trouble, then, Paul's saying, that's the best. Okay, being married is fine. It's not sinful. It's not wrong. It's not against the rules. But not getting married is even better because you will not be conflicted like we talked about before. You will not have to, split your time between God and your wife, or your wife and your kids. So I say all this and bring this together to say this because I think a lot of us, we feel like we have this social push on us to get married. Like, it's a status item. If you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, then you're cooler and more popular and more trendy and more notable than someone that's single. And that is not true. And Paul is trying to make this clear. At the same time, he's not judging those who want to get married. So if you are a person watching this video, you're like, man, I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to get married. Don't tell me. Okay. If you want to get married, you can get married. God has given you the freedom to get married. There is no sin in getting married. But if you do have the self-control to stay single, if you do have the self-control to not be devoted to another person and not get yourself into trouble, then there is more that you can do for God. There is a higher amount of focus you can have for God. Your relationship with Him can go deeper. You will be in a better place because of it. And I think some of you might want to look at yourselves and say, hey, you know what, maybe God wants me to marry, maybe He doesn't, maybe down the road I will marry, maybe I don't, but at least change your focus to know if you don't get married, it's not the end of the world. If you don't get married, it doesn't ruin your life. It is not the the end all be all. Paul is telling us here that life gets better when we're not married because of how we can focus on God. And even if you are getting married, if you are in a season of singleness, if this is a week for you where you're not going to have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you're not going to be sending some love letter to somebody, don't be burdened by it. understand and appreciate your freedoms this week. Understand and appreciate that you have the ability to control your schedule. You have the ability to spend some extra time with God. You have the ability to make some sacrifices in your local church and to serve and to do things that you might not have if you have a relationship there. And enjoy it, because maybe your season will be up at some point, and the day will come where you'll be like, man, I kind of miss those days I was single. Enjoy your season of singleness while it's there. I'm Rob Gardner with the 8minutemovement.com, and we will see you tomorrow.